with P2TK9, and I'm joined by a very special guest and an old and dear friend, Clay, right here with me. We will discuss a little bit about him going forward. First things first, we want to thank everybody at the ATK9 seminar that came and passed by our table yesterday and talked to us about our product line. We did really good there. Really appreciate everybody taking the time. Go to p2tk9.com. Again, this is our signature product among our other products, but the releasable leash blew a lot of minds yesterday.
Blows my mind every time I see it.
So with that being said, we'd appreciate it if you go over to p2tk9.com, check out our equipment, look at the instructional videos, both on Instagram and YouTube. With that out of the way, this is Clay. We met many years ago at Fort Bragg. He is pretty much an original handler to the SOF MPC program, probably year 3 at the latest. Handled, deployed for SOF MPC, has worked on programs that we can't discuss here, and has worked on programs that we will discuss here, one of which being, what was your official title at Lackland Air Force Base?
MW Procurement and Evaluations.
So procurement and evaluations for the MWD program. So for those of you who don't know the structure, the hierarchy in the military, Lackland Air Force Base, the 341st Training Squadron, they do everything for all of the conventional components of the military. All 4 branches that have a dog program, they all go through Lackland for training, for procurement, and for their trained dogs. Those in the SOF MPC program and other programs outside of conventional forces, they have their own standalone programs. So he has participated in both sides of what the Department of Defense provides as far as a military working dog program. So how did this all come to pass to be today's subject of Dog Talks? The first thing is, this has been a subject on my to-do list. When I started rolling these out, this was already on there as a prospective subject. We're driving yesterday together, day before yesterday, to the ATK9 conference. We get a text from another SOF MPC handler, and he says, my neighbor has asked me a question that I can't answer, and I'm passing it on. He sent it to me, to you, to try to get more clarification on. Clay's in the truck riding with me, and he reads this text to me because I'm driving, safety first, and I had a probably mini stroke behind the wheel while I'm driving. So the neighbor is going to a breeder for a German Shepherd, trying to find him a new partner, maybe threat mitigation dog, who knows, but he wants a German Shepherd, and who can blame him? He goes to this breeder. The breeder says, I am doing litters of puppies, and it's from working lines from West Berlin before the wall fell, and this is the old working line that you want. And even to repeat it now, it makes my head spin. What kind of provenance would you have to document that these dogs came from West Germany pre-fall of the wall? Why would that matter? Obviously, and according to the guy, Rick, who sent us the text message, the price is pretty steep on this dog, and this is what the breeder is trying to use to justify cranking the price up on this. So we're a little bit into it at this point, but the subject of this dog talk is debunking the myth of working lines dogs and working line litters, and why that price is being run up higher by breeders and trainers who claim this, and that it really doesn't mean anything. So, Clay, how many buy trips for SOF MPC when you were still an active duty handler did you and I go on, would you think?
I'd say at least 3.
3, I'd say that's a good number, maybe 4. That's been many years and many miles ago, but I know we've done it. So when we go on these buy trips, what are we looking for when we look at the dogs that are already coming from a vendor with a pre-trained amount of time already into them? Do we care anything about their lineage?
Not at all. not at all. Your lineage is by far the least thing we're worried about. We're more worried about drive, stability, under pressure, and what can we do to the dog to make him either break or make it. Is he going to suffer a massive fallout when we put pressure on him, or is he going to be able to recover from that and get through the task at hand and be successful down the road?
So would you say that it's accurate that we are meeting these dogs one-on-one, looking at them for where they are at the given moment and seeing if they fit into our program right then?
Yes.
That it's all about the dog in front of you, not anything in its history.
Yeah, it's all about what I'm seeing at the current moment. I don't care where it came from, who raised it, what PH title it comes from, whoever wants to claim to fame to be the #1 top breeder in the Netherlands, Germany, Eastern Bloc, Western Bloc, wherever. It doesn't matter. That is the least of our worries. We are literally looking at what is given to us at the moment, and we are trying to make our sound judgment on how the dog operates in that environment.
Awesome. So let's move ahead in your work career. So you're at Lackland, your post-active duty career, you're reserve at this point, working at Lackland, doing procurement. How many years did you do that?
Did it for 6 years total.
6 years. So something a lot of people may know or may not know, a lot of these programs, including Lackland, they do European procurement to go out to shop for dogs, test these dogs, and import them. How many trips for Lackland Air Force Base have you done in Europe? How many buy trips?
I want to say at least over 15 plus.
In 6 years?
In 6 years. We did majority overseas, and we did a lot in-state.
Of course.
As of course in the United States. Then again, it still didn't matter where the dog came from. I don't care where you got the dog. I just care if the dog.
So most people have never been to Europe at all to shop for dogs, and you've been at least 15 times, which is already a resume bullet point that most people don't have.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a big deal. Now, I further want to dig into this. In 15 buy trips, how many days would you think were included in those? Was there an average length of a buy trip?
Average length of buy trip is about 2 weeks long.
2 weeks, because obviously there's a lot of time and expense in this. A pretty large posse. How many people on average would go on a buy trip from Lackland?
When it first started, there was a ridiculous amount of people. We're talking, I can't even fathom the number of people that were there that didn't need to be there.
Of course, because it wouldn't be a government boondoggle without way more people sticking their fingers in the rice bowl than there should be.
Yeah, I mean, there should be at least procurement, myself, a backup evaluator, either to cover down if I get hurt, a vet tech, a vet, a couple of handlers. We need 2 handlers in case one gets bit, and that's about it. 7 to 8 man package is all you need.
Yep.
We would be in the close to 10 to 12, up times someday 13, 15 people on a buy trip, which is totally wild.
Way excessive. Way too much. Yeah. All right. So at least 2 weeks minimum, because of the expense to go do it, and then there's travel involved, usually multiple sites. You're not just going to one place for 2 weeks.
Correct. You're going to
pinging around.
Minimum 3, max 6.
Okay.
7 plus.
So now we're because I just want to put numbers on this for people so we can nail down your bona fides and give people who don't know a real idea and a feel for this thing. So 15 trips, 2 times, or 2 weeks at a time minimum, times 15, you're already talking about 30 weeks minimum, perhaps more in some cases in the aggregate. You've almost spent, well, you have done better than a full calendar year in Europe looking at and testing dogs.
Correct.
To just nail down for people, you know what you're talking about.
Correct.
All right. So given this 30-week plus worth of OCONUS testing experience, and we're withholding CONUS, and again, I'm sorry to throw jargon, continental US, outside the continental US. So stateside, he's also testing dogs that people bring to Lackland as well. So out of the over 30 weeks of European experience, how many dogs would you say have been presented to you in your role at Lackland that you've looked at? Could you even possibly put a number on it?
I couldn't even possibly put a number on it, but I'm pretty sure.
What do you think the average for 2 weeks that you would burn through looking at?
600 dogs.
What?
I mean,
That is mind-boggling.
yeah, I mean,
That's insane.
Sometimes it's not that many because the market was, of course, we all have where we're hitting the peak numbers, and we're making the numbers, and then everybody's like, oh, these dogs are coming from here and there. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're just getting good quality dogs. The problem with the dog world is it's been so flooded with people trying to get into this world of buying and selling dogs that the bloodlines are just deteriorating and essentially crap. You have a litter of dogs that may produce, on average, what?
Well, let me ask you this before we go too far. Do you think that it is a degradation of the bloodline, or is because the demand during the period known as the GWOT, Global War on Terror, the build out of so many programs and the rising popularity of working dog programs stateside, which also, by the way, has led to a boost in the popularity of perceived working dogs as pets, the rise of the Malinois pet, the rise of the German Shepherd pet. Do you think that there's just less time being spent in Europe with people developing these dogs as far as their performance during testing goes, or do you think that there's really been a watering down of the breed quality?
It's been both, actually.
Okay.
The test has changed throughout my lineage. It changed dramatically when I showed up and I saw what it was. I molded it to what I thought a quality working dog would be based off the statement of work, because that's what we go off of, is a statement of work. If you would like to sell a dog to the government, it's plain and white, black and white on a piece of paper. It says this: the dog shall do this and this and this. If it does not perform one of those tasks, it is at the evaluator's discretion to retest the dog. And if I do not like the dog's behavior at that test, I can just say no. As far as the dogs being over flooded into the system, it's essentially comes down to money. How much money? How can we get these dogs? Will they pass the test? Will they show? Will they not? It's all about, hey, we want to get in the game because it's GWOT. Everybody's selling dogs. Let's just flood the dogs market.
So, same as it is in the United States, even worldwide, when people smell the United States government spending money and running around with a bankroll, there's no shortage of people, reputable or disreputable, who are ready to try to get a hold of that money.
Correct.
Okay. So, market is now flooded with Johnny-come-latelys, would you say?
Yeah.
People just trying to get into the mix. So when you're over there, are you on these trips for Lackland in this capacity? Again, we're looking at debunking the myth about working lines and bloodlines. Does that factor into the government's assessment and selection?
It does, but it does not. They don't show up and say, hey, this dog's a PH titled, or it has some work of some titled working dog. It might know some simple commands, or it's been thought that it could be titled dogs, so they're going to push it this way and try to continue.
Sure, but as far as titled and training, because I want us to make it clear, is it the training and the quality? Because again, we're talking about assessing now in the dog in front of you, or is it more of we have some kind of standard where, oh well, what dogs bred this? Who made the litter? Where did the litter come from?
Yeah, the litter and the process of the litters and the dogs. I mean, you're gonna have like 4 to 7 pups out of that. You're probably only get 1 or 2 dogs that are even quality. Those dogs might pass the test, they might not pass the test.
Okay. So let's continue with part of your background. You've participated in a few litters, yes or no? Yes. I knew you. I know you, so I'm asking a question I already know the answer to, but I want everyone else to know. So you have participated in making a couple of litters. Your little girl is walking around upstairs above us right now, curious about what we're doing down here. She hears Daddy talking. So she's 15.
Yep.
She came from a litter bred by the first KM to the 7th group SOF MPC program. Shout out to Chaotic Canine.
Yes, sir.
He is a meticulous breeder. Would you agree with that?
Very meticulous. Probably
about
one of the
everything.
best.
Yes. Puts color-coded collars on the pups when they're born to watch the progress of their growth, how aggressive they are to the nipple on the mother where they feed. I've watched him document all of this stuff, obsess over it, tracking their performance later in life based on the records of how aggressive they were with survival instinct to feed and try to push other puppies out of their way, and seeing if that has any correlation down the road with how well they train or how they turn out. So you've got puppy experience. I did a litter with my police dog and the dog that I took to Iraq. So the dog I took to Iraq, I used a female from him to breed with my police dog because I wanted to continue a puppy out of the 2 of those dogs, which I was able to do. And we produced a litter. It's the only time I've ever done a litter. And I call it the roulette wheel of genetics. You and I are both familiar with the Lackland puppy program.
Very familiar.
So Lackland Air Force Base also has a separate program where they take dogs that are of working lines.
Working lines, some PH titled.
Are these dogs that are proven to have trained and performed well in the Lackland DoD system?
Usually, but not all the times. I mean, it's very few and far that you'll actually get if it's a PH titled dog, they're going to use that, especially if it's a female, they're going to use that dog as their brood bitch.
Right.
They're not going to give that dog up. And the only time they get that dog is when I see it, and it's about the time where the age cutoff limit where we can accept the dog. There is the time sometimes that we have taken the risk of, hey, she's over the age, but she did produce a quality litter. They want to try to use their stock at Lackland to put this dog together, and it's a crapshoot. Let's see what we can throw into a barrel. And
the genetic roulette wheel.
Yeah, genetic roulette, yeah.
So, and I want to bring up a point that you touched on that's really important. You're saying this female PH1 Malinois that now they're going to select for the breeding program. And again, we're talking about a title that this dog earned as an adult, and this is one of the reasons that they are selecting her for the dog breeding program, right?
Correct.
Again, we're talking about people trying to sell dogs based on they were in West Germany before the fall of the wall. So we're saying this female is coveted for the breeding program based on how she turned out as an adult. And we aren't necessarily looking at the 3 generations behind her at their performance, right?
Right.
So we're not actually looking at bloodlines.
No.
We're selecting a female who is a known performer in her lifetime that did some things, and we're trying to up the percentages of success against the genetic roulette wheel to try to come out with quality dogs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. And you and I know how puppy programs work in Europe because we've both been there, and there's a glaring difference with the puppy program at Lackland.
100%. 100%. Actually, 1,000%.
A giant hole in their game, is it not?
Yes.
So in your opinion, out of European breeders and trainers, would from any European country, West or East, if they're raising dogs and then training them and hoping to sell them into the European or the American market, would they give up this dog after it's whelped and weaned off its mother to a rank stranger for the first full year of its life?
No. They would allow it to be homed, but they wouldn't give it up. Like the Europeans will allow some well-known neighbors.
But they know these people.
They know these people.
And they've got past performance
with success, and that's what they're basing it on. These people have knowledge. They've trained dogs. They've produced a first-year puppy through all its environmentals, obedience, different little small skill sets for showing in the PH1 or Schutzen World, whatever. And it is mind-blowing that what we do here in the United States.
So let me stop you there. Who does Lackland allow to take that puppy for the first year?
Any sloppy Joe that wants to come volunteer.
How much experience do they need?
Zero.
Zero. That is strange. How much pre-training and information and do's and don'ts do they get from Lackland Air Force Base before they are turned over one of these puppies for the first year of its life?
I think it's like a hour-long little session where they
So
talk
very
to them.
thorough.
No, not so
What?
thorough.
What?
Not so thorough at all.
I thought this was
It's
a serious
essentially
program.
It's that's what I thought too, but apparently I was wrong. It's essentially literally these people show up.
Yep.
They show up in their thing. They get, hey, here's your little conveyor belt. You get a kennel. You get a bag of treats. You get some toys. You get you get your dog.
So now I wanna be careful. I don't want to throw off on the people who are doing this in the San Antonio area or outlying region. These are nice folk.
Yeah,
They think that they're doing something for the DOD, for the troops. They're volunteering their time and opening their house to one of these dogs. So we're not necessarily taking aim at anyone who wants to do this.
No,
some of them are patriot citizens who want to help out.
And God bless all of you that have ever done it, because you are literally trying to let a little alligator T-Rex into your house to destroy it. So go ahead, feel free.
They're about to experience the Malinois ownership joys and pains.
Yeah.
So we're not taking aim at them. We're taking aim at the mindset and the bureaucracy of Lackland, which takes these dogs and hands them over with a minimum of experience. So already we're spinning the genetic roulette wheel. Then the difference between European breeders and American Lackland puppy program breeding is now we have taken that first formative year. How, in your view, in your opinion, how formative and impactful is that first year?
Very informative and very impactful. That is where you get all the little small nuances out of the dog. You want the dog to understand what you're saying is the final word. There is no other option. That when you tell the dog to sit, it's going to sit. Of course, you're going to reward it for sitting. We're not abusing these dogs at all. They get the kindest, loving, overly loving, I would say, to the point where they actually destroy the dog and it becomes a pile of mush.
Because there is a difference between a pet and a working dog, isn't there?
Correct.
Would you, in your experience, consider the first 12 months after weaning, for many dogs, can this be a potential make or break period?
It's definitely a make or break period.
And I concur with that. The first 12 months, and we'll get into the genetic superstars, but there is, in this first 12 months, there are dogs that can be wrecked permanently and completely ruled out of a working dog program by mistakes made by the people fostering that first 12 months.
100%. I mean, that's where their problems are. And if you don't like it, it's coming from me. And I've seen it 100% up front, personal. I mean, I've seen a lot of working dogs potentially that could have made it and gotten past their hurdles that they had to jump over. But when they get out of the lovey-dovey household and go to the prisoner of war camp over at Lackland, it's game over. That's the make or break portion.
So let's talk round numbers to keep it simple for the viewer. Let's say this male and female have a litter of 10. My opinion, you let me know, agree or disagree. Out of 10, are we probably going to see at least 2 genetic superstars that were predestined to be awesome? And if given even the minimum amount to succeed, will they succeed?
Yes.
So you're going to get at least a couple of ringers every time.
And then out of that 10, you're probably going to get 2 that will take longer to get to the course at Lackland. And then you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 that will get recycled. But you're going to have at least 5 to 6 of those drop out. They will be going back to the people that either foster them as a free dog, or they will be going to a law enforcement agency that is willing to accept the challenge of trying to correct all the deficiencies that were already inputted into this animal's brain.
Okay, to our litter of 10. So we've got we'll call them candidates number 1 and 2 ranked by order,
Mm-hmm.
going to make it.
Yep.
Candidates 3 and 4 can be made and will get there through proper training and fostering. So out of our 10, top 4, 2 guaranteed, 3 that can 3 and 4 can make it. At the bottom end, at number 9 and 10, are we going to have 2 that just lost the genetic roulette wheel and they're a bust? There's no amount of training or fostering that's going to get them into a working dog program. Agree or disagree?
Agree, 100%. There's a psychological mindset that how I believe all dogs have to have if you're going to be a working dog, and you have to accept pressure, be able to deal with the pressure, and be able to overcome the pressure to be successful. And through their year-long process or 6 month, the dog being in this household of some strangers in San Antonio or the surrounding area, these dogs are not getting the proper repetitions or even care that they need to actually become a working dog. They're not being molded into what the Europeans do, and
Right.
which is known and proven to work. That these dogs are just failing out and at high rates and numbers.
So you and I are going to agree that probably a litter of 10 is a big number. That's larger than average for most. But again, we're keeping it round numbers. So we've addressed 1 through 4. We've addressed 9, 10. So that's 6. So now let's focus on that last 4 in the middle. So we'll call number 5 and 6 out of 10 our fence sitters. And with a lot of good fostering and a lot of good training, these fence sitters could fall either way. They might make it and flourish as a marginal or better than marginal working dog, or they could be one of those where as an evaluator, assessment, selection, you look at them and it's one of those where you're wringing your hands thinking, I don't hate this dog and it's passing most stuff, but there's just not enough there to make me pick this dog. So is that a good description of your fence sitters?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's dogs that have the heart and the will to do whatever you put them through, but there are underlying issues. Either you have stamina, maybe some environmental issues that kind of just destroy them, and that's the major portion of building a good core is you have to get over those in the first year. And if you don't, then there's no way the dog's ever going to succeed.
So you touched on a point earlier about our good citizen patriots in the San Antonio area who are taking on this puppy, and they are, some of them in some cases, about to be blindsided by the Malinois ownership experience and have their life and house upended by a very young puppy.
Yeah.
That's not even fully grown and fully developed, and yet they are capable of chaos and destruction.
Oh yeah, very much so.
We both know that. We've been through all of it. With that being said, we're going back to our litter of 10, and we'll reduce this down to our top 4. With that in mind, when you are talking about, we've tried to use bloodlines from working lines to make our litter. We've got our litter of 10. We're going to separate out the top 4. If you are in your testing and evaluating mind in your puppy experience, what is this puppy going to act like, and how much drive and energy are they going to have?
They're going to be, there's no clear-headed dogs. There's no fine line about a clear-headed dog. Either these dogs are going to be just too much drive and over the top, that the trainers at Lackland, all sister services have trainers there, they're going to be too much of a dog where they can't handle. So there again, you have a free LEA dog available for nothing, or that dog is either going to get washed out or sent back to the home because it's just too much, and the Lackland trainers cannot fix it, or they do not have the knowledge.
But even for a person who might be looking at a pet, the top 4 are best from the working lines. Would you consider, for the average person, a dog out of the top 4 to be a good pet candidate?
No.
Why?
Well, yes, but I mean,
no. Well, I mean, For the average person.
For average person, no.
40-hour work week.
No,
works away from home.
Not at all. You're not. If you're not spending my puppy dog 100% of the time. She was with me everywhere I went. She ate with me, slept with me. Anything I do, we do together. I would do it first.
Plenty of PT. Outside time.
Exposure to the world. All the other little things that we don't think will bother a dog. It majorly affects
Now let's back up. You're not opposed to crate training or crate confinement for dogs of this type, are you?
Seriously, I hope they're never in a crate or confined to a crate. But
well, I mean, if you're away from home.
At home, they.
No, I mean, if you're gone.
If I'm gone, they should be in a crate.
There we go.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't mean you're at home living with the dog in the crate, so that people are clear on it. So let me rephrase the question, and I'm not going to cut anything out of this because we want everything I do is one take and raw, and it's in there. My question could have been phrased better. If your average person has one of these caliber of animals and they leave to go grocery shopping and they are without the dog, should you leave this dog inside your house free to access everything, or should they be confined to a crate during your absence?
They should definitely be confined to a crate during your absence.
Why is that? What could go wrong?
Multitude of things. Let's see. My puppy dog Gektief, first, let's say 2 months, I was out 2 cell phone chargers, whopping $350 a piece, stilettos, Louis Vuitton purse, you name it. Anything that you think is that you might.
Do they have this strange propensity for leather?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Isn't that weird? So anything leather furniture, leather shoes, leather handbags. Leather's definitely on the menu to the board Malinois and or Shepherd. So what I wanted to make by that point there was you're aware of what they can get into when left to their own devices. And a lot of pet owners aren't, and pet owners think that crate confinement in their absence is mean.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so they go to the store or they go to work and they don't want their baby stuck in a box while they're gone to work. So they leave them out in their house, and then the dog rains terror down on everything you own. Would that be accurate?
Very accurate, 100%.
Okay. So making the case of, are working line puppies necessarily good for your life if you aren't a PT nut, have plenty of spare time, able to give them as much attention as they need, or if you don't believe in putting them in a crate while you're gone? Would a working line, working quality dog that can pass tests for a program make a good pet for the person who is not a PT nut and not at home teleworking where they can interact with this dog a lot? And if they are reluctant to put them in a crate, which is for their own good when there is the absence of a human to monitor their activities, is that a good pick for someone, just the average person?
Absolutely not. It's essentially, you're buying a Ferrari and you drive a Pinto. You should not be willing to allow that Ferrari to run wild when you're so slow you can't keep up with it.
In your experience, how many people have received a puppy because they've seen a movie, they know about some of the GWAT era canine deployments, and they wanted to get a Malinois or a Shepherd as a pet and also part of their security and threat mitigation package? How many people would you know of personally that, or even have heard of reliably, firsthand knowledge, that got one of these dogs and realized in short order they were way over their head and had to try to rehome this dog?
I'd say out of every class that was sent out for puppies, or every litter that was sent out for puppies, you're going to get at least 20 to 30% back of those dogs where they're too much dog for that handler to take care of. It's either bitten somebody out of just playful bite or aggression, but there is a good 20 to 30%, if not in the high end 40 to 50%, that will be sent back because they're just too much dog.
But even outside of Lackland or working dog programs, people who just, oh, I want a Mal, and then they find out I really didn't want a Mal.
Well, those are the people that I'm pretty sure the viewers will agree with this, that those are the people that if you're trying to sell a dog, that's what you want, because you're trying to get into a dog
Sure.
that, hey, it looks cool, it might do this, I can have this dog for this and that. But no, that's not how it works.
But
If you
then they
don't
realize this is more than I signed up for.
exactly, if you don't put the quality time and training and be on the forefront of catching a problem before it happens, you're gonna get a disaster.
Because out of the people who do run litters and are reputable breeders that I know of, they have, I would say, maybe, I go along with you, 20-30% of buyers, sometimes maybe more than that, who think they want this little high-end hot rod Malinois.
Yep.
Maybe they've seen some good YouTube videos of people who put a lot of time into their dogs and they do awesome, neat things. And people don't appreciate how much effort goes into that. They get this puppy thinking, well, I'm going to have that, and then quickly realize this thing is too much for my life. I don't know how to control it. I don't know how to give it proper outlets. I don't know how to shape all of that energy and ambition into something useful. And then they just pull the pin on a grenade in their life where everything is chaos.
Yeah, I mean, it happens time and time again, and it's going to continue to happen because they're never or have never changed the ways of continuing education. I mean, there's just because a dog looks cool on TV, there's many of hours that have gone to that dog.
Mm-hmm.
Hours, days, months, years,
Yes.
and before you see a final product.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, she's 15 years old up there. She continues to learn and train every day. I mean, it never stops. When you have one of these dogs, it never stops.
And even at 15, we've not been there since you got her.
Mm-hmm.
She's 15. She's lost a few steps.
Yeah.
Are there still things on a daily basis for this dog at 15 that you are still aware for, situational awareness in your environment that can still trigger her, set her off, be problematic? You are still
Absolutely
overseeing her activities even at 15, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, if you have to be tuned into your animal, and if you don't know that animal 100% and you don't know all her little fine little ticks and quirks and nuances, you're gonna be already behind the power curve. You're gonna lose out because you're not trying to make this dog better the next day and trying to overcome that next hurdle and step. It's gonna be too much for you to even handle or even want to, because once it gets behind, there's no catching up. If that dog wins and wins multiple times over you, guess what?
They've learned it, and now they're going to kick that door.
You might as well just give the leash to the dog and put the collar on you.
You might be able to extinction train that out, but you never know when it's going to pop up out of the sand again later down the road. And oh, hey, we're revisiting this problem again because they learned it originally when that should have been cut off as a possibility.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's talk about our average pet owner who wants to go out. I want a Malinois in my life. I want a German Shepherd in my life. If you haven't been on our Instagram or checked out other demonstration videos here on YouTube, Thomas, our Malinois name only, came out of the Animal Pound in Kendall County, Texas. Is this guy just a couch potato or what?
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Very few actual what we would consider Malinois behaviors. He likes to chase squirrels.
Yeah.
He'll fire up and tree squirrels. He likes that.
Yeah.
He'll eat chicken poop.
Yep.
He's good at that. In Texas, he liked hog poop. So he has very few Malinois traits as far as the Malinois goes. Doesn't tear up the house, never has. House trained easily. Very stable around other animals and other people. He has probably, would you say, a dog with one of the least hot button issues that you've ever been around?
For sure. Yeah.
Pretty stable under all conditions.
Yeah.
So people who want that in their life, do you think they need to be going to the breeder who's selling puppies saying, I'm using bloodlines, I'm using West Berlin? I don't even know how you would document that to try to convince somebody, pay me $5,000 for this puppy because it's super great, ultra great grandpappy was guarding the Berlin Wall on the west side, and the West German guys had the tightest genetics and bloodlines. I don't even know how you draw that line to say that this is legit in the first place.
There's no way you can. I mean, there's no way that, and again, it doesn't really rely on genetics. Like where the whole thing is, the genetics are one thing.
Let me ask you this: if this guy, I want to play along and try to see what this would look like. Let's say he did have a male and a female that came out of West Germany pre fall of the Berlin Wall, and he kept that bloodline legit. Would you say the only way to do that is either he's got people still in West Germany who are supplying him with fresh dogs every generation, or is he line breeding these dogs, which means descendants out of each litter with descendants bred back into each other? Because the minute that you start using anything stateside or out of that bloodline, do you have that bloodline anymore?
No.
I mean, it's just washed out. It's a trace. It's a fleck of the genetics left.
Yeah.
So either this thing is watered down, or he's just straight up line breeding. Which, is that a good practice?
Not at all. That creates more problems than there are resolutions. I mean, line breeding is horrible.
So is there an answer C of how this guy has got West German pre-Berlin Wall fall dogs that are still of the bloodline of the dogs in the 80s?
I would say, how does that little kid say? Oh, bullshit. Bullshit. It's not possible. I mean,
so hot take from you, we read this and then we call Rick and get the explanation on the phone. Do you think this is a reputable breeder to even float a story out there to somebody like that?
Reputable to take your money and run away with leaving you with nothing? Yes, but reputable breeder? No, not at all. I mean,
how do you even float that story out there with a straight face unless you're trying to get over on people who just don't know?
That's all he's trying to do, is get over.
Wow, that's incredible. So if I'm the average pet owner, my advice, if you are looking for a pet, you want a Mal, you want a Shepherd, first course of action, evaluate your own life and your living situation. If you are in an apartment in a metropolitan area,
you do not want a Malinois.
Because I was going to say you're limited on green spaces. You have to go down a few floors, get out of an apartment to go and walk this thing on city streets. Does this person really have enough free time and open area to be able to get this dog out and have enough space to keep it mentally and physically healthy?
No, not at all.
In most cases.
In most cases, no, not at all.
So, agree, disagree. Your first step, if you want to shep a Mal, anything, Doberman, Rottweiler, anything that would consider being a historical working dog, first assessment is, how do I live? How much room do I have? What do I do for a job? How often can I get outside? Am I someone who likes to spend a ton of time outside? Yeah. Do I like to go on walks, hikes, jogs, etc., right?
Exactly. I mean, are you athletic? Do you like to be outdoors? Yes. I mean, that's 100%. That you should evaluate yourself 100% before you should get these dogs. I mean, that's what you're saying is yes.
But if you're older, it's not off the table. So our neighbors here, next farm over, 110 acres, big, beautiful German Shepherd. He's made a cameo in some of our videos. They're 70. They want it as part of their threat mitigation package, but also want a pet, a beloved family pet. Big house, 110 acres, both retired. There are no obligations that take them away from the house to leave the dog unattended. They travel everywhere with the dog. It's carte blanche in the crew cab of their truck, goes everywhere with them. So it's doable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So assess your your assets, look at your lifestyle. Can you support it? Even the person in the apartment, in the case of a Thomas, could they still own a Malinois like Thomas?
Like Thomas, yes, but Thomas is still going to suffer because he's not going to get the amount of outdoor exposure that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to get the enrichment of, being around other people. So again, everything I'm talking about leads to issues. If you don't have this dog that you can get him around people, kids, different environments, surfaces, anything like that, it's going to ruin the dog. You're going to degrade the dog, and it's just going to turn to mush, or it's going to be so much that it eats you out of house.
So in our experience for the working dog side, it has been invaluable for the success of the working team to try to match the personality of the dog to the aptitudes, personality, and traits of the handler, to try to find some sort of chemistry and compatibility, right?
Correct.
So on the working dog side, we don't just grab a random dog unless you're Lackland and say, this is your MWD, go do good things. Correct. We in programs, special operations, soft programs outside of that arena, we have the ability to sort through dogs and know the personalities of the handlers and try to set them up for success.
100%.
So we're putting the two pieces together.
Yep.
So my second piece of advice is, after you do your assessment, your living and working situation, we need to try to go and find a dog that has the personality that is hopefully going to fit in to your lifestyle. So as far as puppies go, would you consider even a puppy program at 6 months old? At this point, do we have a good read on if this dog is going to make it long term, 2 years from now, as a working dog?
Not at all.
Not at all, because they haven't developed psychologically.
Yep. They
don't know enough about the world. So we, even as experienced guys, can't forecast, this puppy is 6 months old, I know 2 years from now it's going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
We have no clue.
No clue.
So when we test dogs for working dog programs, we look at dogs. I don't want to see anything. My floor limit is 18 months. I've had to look at some that are a year old, and I don't like it because, again, they haven't fully formed psychologically. I don't really see yet. You're more forecasting potential rather than assessing what's already reality. Are you about the same numbers age-wise?
Yeah, 100%.
What's the minimum for assessment for Lackland?
They have to be a year old. Yeah,
so even though Lackland has a lot of holes in their game, even they know you can't start going to a vendor and looking at a dog to screen for the program sooner than a year.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what you're looking at. And you can't really put a lot of pressure on them before a year because they haven't developed. You don't want to be unethical and crash some breeder's dog by putting too much pressure on them during assessment selection. So that floor limit really needs to be a year before you know for sure how this dog's going to go, maybe for your working program, right?
Yep.
So I have no problem with buying a puppy. There's a lot of joy in training a puppy up, watching it grow, being its only family. But you would agree that from a puppy, this is a long trek over the horizon, and you don't know when you look at a puppy or a breeder says, this is from working lines and I give it to you, a la, the Lion King, here it is, this is going to be great. They don't know.
No.
You as the buyer don't really know.
No.
If you buy a puppy, you have a lot of opportunity to shape and influence the outcome of that dog, which that's a benefit. So I would say step 3 is, if you want one of these Mal Shepherds, don't rule out an adult dog, one of a year or more, would you?
Yeah, I would say a year, 2. If it depends on your living environment and stuff. Sometimes you want just a mellow, relaxed Malinois that is just want to hang out. I don't really want to do anything else. That's all I want to do is hang out with you. That's probably the best dog for you.
if it's already housebroken,
Yeah.
we've already skipped a major pain in the butt right there, getting that going.
Yep.
For people who aren't cool with crate training or confining a dog as a puppy, to keep them from chewing on, and some of this is for the benefit of the dog because they can choke on things, wrap power cords around their neck and kill themselves. We're not doing this to be mean. We're doing it because this is how you keep a dog safe from itself.
Correct.
And a big piece of that is in the crate, try to confine their area where they don't want to pee or poop and be in it, and then frequent potty breaks in and out. Get outside, oh good, mark and reward or mark with positive praise that act of going to the bathroom outside, and then take them back in. So now we're setting them up for house training. But crate training is a big piece of that, is it not?
Crate training is very essential. Not just everything you covered, which is key, but you have to realize crate training is designed to teach the dog that he's okay to be in a confined space. And if you skip that step, you are literally going to ruin the dog, because this dog is going to go from your 800 square foot apartment into a little box, and then is going to have to get shipped over back to its home base, or if it's Lackland, goes back to Lackland. And then guess what this dog does? Goes into a kennel with all these other thousands of barking dogs, which never quit barking.
They
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. And they are literally, that dog's going to fall apart from day one.
Oh, it can be a complete culture shock when they go back into general population, as some in the community like to say.
I mean,
so
that's
but if they're not crate trained at home and they have all this extra room and they have the luxury to pee and poop where they don't have to be next to it, it's harder to crate train a puppy if they don't have the confinement to give them an incentive to not do it until you take them outside. And hopefully you're doing that regularly enough where there are no bad muscle memory behaviors of them going in the crate, and you can get them outside. So want to wrap up. I'm keeping an eye on the time. We've gone a little long. You and I could do this all day.
Yeah, for sure.
We could just keep going and going. If you are shopping for a puppy, find a reputable breeder with a nice, clean facility, a good reputation of taking care of their dogs, not just in a pile of shredded newspaper in a hog barn. Someone who cares, not someone who turns a new litter every 90 days. Not someone who is freaking out because this dog is 6 months old and I only sell puppies. A good small quantity reputable breeder is going to be clean. They won't mind if the dog has a little more age on them. They know that there are people who will buy the dogs with a few more months on them. They are taking the time to interact with this dog, so it's not a savage when you come look at it when it's 6 or 7 months old. Please don't go to someone who says, I am selling German Shepherds from behind the Berlin Wall. That is just insane. I hope you've been able to figure that out during the course of this conversation. Don't be afraid to look at an adult dog. Don't be afraid to go to a pound or a rescue and find a Mal or a Shepherd that's already an adult that maybe is more simpatico with your personality. Don't be afraid to adopt a retired police dog or working dog that's got multiple years on them. They're probably going to already be housebroken. The majority of these dogs are lower in energy level. They're going to require less of that take me outside, run with me. But there are options. Find a good local trainer in your area, someone who can be your spirit guide on this journey and can assist you with all of what it takes to either raise a puppy or rehome a new dog and get some good basic obedience that will make them an asset to your daily life in your home, traveling with you, getting in your vehicle, going to the park, and not a complete just ball of nerves, stress for you every waking moment of your life, because that's not fun for anybody. I really appreciate you, first of all, flying up from Texas to go be my backup at the ATK9 conference.
Wouldn't have missed it.
I would have been overwhelmed on vendor day trying to deal with everybody that came by. Again, big thank you to them. Been a pleasure having you here as always. Thanks for joining me on this. You are the first guest on a dog talk for P2TK9.
Case of beer.
I got you the TX bourbon on the shelf, so we'll have some more of that later. But always a pleasure seeing you. You're the first guest on this.